Welcome back everyone, Toy Shiz here, and we are back yet again for another Spawn video. Yes, it has been quite some time since we've looked at anything Spawn here. McFarlane Toys has continued to put out Spawn merchandise, but if I'm being honest, all of that merchandise just really hasn't been up my Spawn alley, including the Kickstarter, which I just didn't think it looked all that medieval Spawn to me. But this Spawn, which needed a little bit more designation, perhaps the Deviant, Rat City Spawn, Peter Cairn, something like that. It's a new comic book property. This is the red platinum variant of the Rat City Spawn, so do keep that in mind. He's in this video as well. But this is what the character looks like. And if you look at the action figure, when you look at the artwork, it leaves a little bit to be desired, just FYI, but more on that in just a few. Here's the barcode. Mine came from Walmart. They're starting to hit store shelves. I'll put some links down in the description below if you want to grab them. The initial Rat City Deviant Spawn, the Deviant is the name, is essentially Spawn 2099. He was shown off in prototype form, a rather giant prototype form, at San Diego Comic-Con 2024. And it looks pretty cool. I'm actually a fan of the character in the sense of the artwork, but I can't tell you I'm a fan of the initial comic book series because it's really a whole lot of nothing. There's really nothing happening, but perhaps there'll be something happening for you for this video. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a nice hot cup of coffee. This is a look at both of the brand new Spawn Rat City Deviant action figures by McFarlane Toys. Now, for those of you out there that are not familiar with Rat City, here's a little bit of a quick rundown for you. Peter Cairn in the future, 100 years from the initial Spawn comic, whenever 100 years takes place. He's the new futuristic deviant because he's an ex-soldier, lost his legs, got cybernetic parts, but from the past, spawns a necroplasmic blast, resonated throughout time and space, and infected the nanites in his machine parts, and he quickly became the new Spawn. He's not dead, he's just a guy with a necroplasmic suit. It's kind of interesting. Now, he does come with extra hands, and for you Marvel Legend fanatics that have been asking for a Marvel Legends rendition of Spawn, well, look no further. You got swap out hands, and you got swap out necroplasm parts. However, for me, in thinking about this and going, well, this is supposed to be touting a new character. It's a new comic book. Let's put all our resources in because it's cool looking, and they reuse these parts from the DC Multiverse Geoforce. It's just kind of a bummer. It makes me go, why? Why not get some new cool necroplasm effects that reflects what you see in the comic book? Because it's kinda like this, but then it's really not. This would go more for maybe your actual Spawn figures, but not really because they're kind of boring effects. They worked with Geoforce because of his powers, but it just really doesn't fit for me. That's all I got for you. But the actual figure, and let me just say, I do not envy the designers, the sculptors of this figure, because if you look at the actual Rat City artwork, the Deviant Spawn, the art is all over the place. It looks great, but how do you put that into action figure form? And I think that they've done a fairly decent job. There's a lot of paint on this guy. The legs are kind of the faulty part because he's kind of hard to stand. Yes, he has big flat feet, but ultimately it's the joints, how they ratchet, how you kind of get him standing straight up. It's kind of annoying. He'll constantly fall backward. He has that heavy wired cape. You're going to need the stand regardless. So just keep that in mind. But he is a cool looking figure. So at least he's got that going for him. But the legs and the feet, you'll find that sweet spot eventually. The various machine parts, the more organic parts, they're very interesting. I think that this is pretty close and how you would kind of have to do it. Again, it changes through the artwork, the covers, inside panels, and everything else, but it has spikes. It looks like it has furry bits. Just FYI, they have all kinds of green, red, black, skulls, everything. But I think where it lost me was that these, where the pearlescent white is, should be just white. I don't really like the pearlescent that they chose. Technically, this guy is pinless, but they just hide the pins very well, just FYI, like with the furry bit of armor there. But then if you look on the inside, yeah, you can definitely see the pins. So pinless, quote unquote, but it's closer. It's a start, right? McFarlane Toys, plenty of articulation in the legs kicking out, but everything is single jointed. I know a lot of you out there are going to go, right off the bat, but it does make for a cool looking figure on your shelf. Although with that limited articulation, it does heavily limit him when posing him out. So that's kind of the downside of this. I'm not really a stickler for articulation, but to kind of get him into all the fun poses that you see during the comic book run, it definitely could have needed it. He does have some pretty decent ab crunch and waist, so at least he's got that going for him. And then as you move up top to the head, I like the little Spawn cape thing around it. The head will kind of sort of look up, not as much as I would like, but down, left, right, you get the idea. But the little Spawn cape right here, which is supposed to mimic the original Spawn, is a very rubberized plastic. I like that. And if you look on the back, which totally took me by surprise, I didn't know this was going to be a bendy wire cape, it is pretty much the cape from the Rat City comic book. It even has the line work. So they didn't skimp on this guy per se, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit more articulation and then definitely different accessories, because that's kind of the humdrumness of this figure. But through and through, again, if you look at the comic book source material, it's pretty close. I just think that swapping out the silver to that white pearlescence to the actual white would have really made this stand out a whole heck of a lot better. If you're a customizer, if you want to put more black on this figure, probably will look amazing. But I digress. Do I like this figure? Yes. Did I buy it? Yes. Do I like the idea of a Deviant Spawn 2099 / Iron Man kind of thing? Yeah, I totally dig that. And again, I like the cape. I like how it's just a futuristic take. It's Spider-Man 2099, Batman Beyond, Iron Man, all mixed into a blender. Just like what McFarlane did with Spawn all those years ago. Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Venom, all that stuff. So it's interesting, and at least he's got paint on the back, all the green, all the reds. So it's a fairly interesting action figure. But will you be happy if you're a Spawn Rat City fan? Yeah, most definitely. This will be right up your alley. Now, over on the flip side of things, for the Stealth Deviant variant, he's going to have the same exact hands. So you do have a trigger finger hand, open hand, fisted hands, all that jazz. What's nice about having the trigger finger hands for both of these Deviants is that if you have an arsenal of weaponry, like with McFarlane Toys' weapons packs and whatnot, yeah, you can definitely arm these Spawn. And ultimately, I think that's what's kind of missing from this Spawn. Yes, you get powers, yes, you get extra hands, but some weaponry. That's what really always made Spawn stand out. You get the same exact effects. I don't need to go into that again. You can also do the one arm up, blasting the necroplasm into outer space if you want to, with the cape billowing in the wind. That does look kind of cool. This Spawn, if anything, as being a Deviant stealth variant, right, is mimicking Spawn, or at least trying to mimic Spawn. This is just a fun variant, unless this turns out to be a character later on in Rat City. They could have really pushed the paints, kind of made this fun, like given him the aspects of Spawn, made the boots red, made the gauntlets red, really kind of jazzed it up a little bit. It's got the same exact cape. It's just kind of boring. This one is just kind of meh. Right? If you like Spawn, I suppose it's the closest thing to a Spawn 2099 in the sense of taking Al Simmons and making him futuristic, but definitely go with the normal Rat City character. That's the one you want to get, and that's what you see in the comic books. When you want to pair him up with Al Spawn, and just we're going to keep it just as the more modern Spawns, because putting these new figures with anything old school that McFarlane did, the old stuff still is just wow. But you can clearly see the scales. The new Deviants are definitely taller than Al. And then just to show you the scaling differences between Hasbro Marvel Legends and the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse. Yes, this Deviant Spawn is definitely on the taller end. He does look sleek. He looks cool. If you want a different type of Spawn, this will definitely be right up your Spawn alley. So that's going to wrap it up for my quick look at the brand new Spawn Rat City action figures, the Deviant and the Stealth Deviant Red Platinum Edition. These are interesting. I would say pass on the Stealth Deviant. I like the Rat City design. I really don't care for the comic book. It's just, again, a whole lot of nothing going on. It's over and over the same kind of beats. The guy fights with his suit. He has hallucinations. They keep talking about Al Simmons. It's just kind of boring. That's really all I got for you. But when properties are boring, movies, comics, TV shows, or otherwise, that's where the action figures can definitely step in and make it fun again. So you've heard my thoughts, and now I'm curious to know yours. Comment below, let me know. Let's talk everything Spawn Rat City. And until the next one, I will leave you guys with that. Adios.